Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear students. Welcome again to another tutorial about programming essentials in Python. As a continuation of module 3, we are going to discuss loop statements. Okay, we are going to cover two loop statements in this course: while statement and for statement. We are going to start with while in this tutorial, and we are going to continue with for in another separate tutorial, inshallah. So first of all, why do we need loop? Loop statement is used to repeat several statements, or is used to repeat one or more statements several times. So if you want, for example, to enter 5 numbers, you're not going to write input statement 5 times. Practically this is not correct, because okay, you might say 5 is fine, I can write it 5 times, but what if you have 50 input statements or even 500 input statements? You're not gonna write them manually. You have to find a way to repeat this process several times, just like when you want to print something several times again. So this is what when loop statement is useful. Okay, so as we learned with if statement, the first thing that you're going to learn with while statement, which is the first statement you're going to talk about regarding loops, is the syntax. Okay, and the syntax of while statement is going to be by typing while and then conditional expression, okay, or logical expression, colon, and then instruction, which could be more than one instruction, as you can see here: instruction 1, 2, 3, etc. until instruction n. Now I think you notice the similarities between if statement and while statement. Actually they are exactly the same, but instead of writing if conditional expression, you are gonna write while conditional expression. Okay, and that's it. So how while is gonna be executed? The conditional expression, as you know from if statement, is going to return either true or false. So if this conditional expression result is true, if the result is true, you're going to execute this instruction, and when you finish, you're going to check the condition again. If it's true, you're going to repeat again, and so on and so on. Okay, until this conditional expression evaluates to false. Then you are gonna exit the loop and you jump to another statement or to the rest of the program. Again, I'm gonna use paint as I did with for. So you're gonna have a body of statements. Okay, you want to repeat them. Here you have the while. Okay, I'm gonna write the while just like this. Okay, because this is going to be tabbed, and then condition and colon, and I'm gonna change the colon and the while to red because they are keywords. And now when this is true, we're gonna go here. So if this is true, and after we finish, we're gonna go back to the while, and we're gonna continue in this circle or in this cycle until this condition evaluates to false. So as you can see here, it's going to be true. Just let's change the color to green to make it more any common sense. So if it's true, it's going to run this, and when it finishes, it's going to go back to title again, while again. But if the condition evaluates to false, we are going to continue to the rest of the program. Okay, so this is going to repeat until the condition is false. Okay, what if the condition stays true forever? This is going to cause what's mentioned here, an infinite loop. Okay, as you can see, when you say while true, print I'm stuck inside the loop, you're going to stuck inside the loop forever basically, unless you force the program to stop, or you turn off your PC, or you turn off your electricity, or whatever. But basically it's going to run infinite number of times. It's going to endless loop. Okay, and this is one of the logical errors that you might have when you work with loop. Okay, this will lead us to something very important I'm gonna discuss with you right now, which is when you work with loop statements in general, not necessarily while. I'm gonna increase the font size to the max. When you work with loop statements, as I was saying, not necessarily a while, you need to remember three things that you need, that your loop code must include. It's a must, it's not a should. First of all, you need to have an initial variables or value. Okay, let's say we must have an initial value, and then as you saw from the syntax, we're gonna have a condition, and then we need to change the value. Why? Because eventually we need to make the condition evaluates to false. Okay, again, it's no need to select because it's notepad. Let me click like this. Okay, so you must have an initial value. It's a state where the loop is going to start. Let's say, for example, we are going to start x equal 1, x equal 2, x equal 3, as I'm going to show you as an example in a few seconds. And then you're going to have a condition, because this is part of the while syntax. You cannot ignore it. And then inside the loop, not outside the loop, inside the loop. So let's say this is the loop. Okay, and this is going to be, anyway, I'm going to show it to you. Let's just tab and this tab. Yep, just like Python here. So inside the loop, you're going to have to change the value in order to make the condition false. Otherwise, you're going to stuck in a loop, and you're going to get what is called an infinite loop or endless loop or any other thing. You have to, anything you name it. Okay, you're going to stuck in the loop forever. Okay, so you need to avoid this by changing the value. I said change because it could be increasing the value, decreasing the value, asking the user to input another value, and so on. Okay, so this is basically what while statement is. So let's test it. Now let's just go to sandbox. I'm gonna open the sandbox again. You can use Python ideally if you want. I'm gonna change the text to 15. Now I'm gonna print the numbers from 1 to 5. So what we used to do before, we're gonna print, and we say 1, and then we copy this, 4, 5 times, and then we're gonna say 2, 3, 4, and 5. Normally, okay, this is acceptable if you have a few number of repetitions, but what if the question asked you to write or to print 500 numbers? You're not going to copy them 500 times. Okay, so we are going to need to use a loop. Okay, we're going to start with the loop syntax. We're going to write while, and then a condition, which means x equals or less than or equal 5. When this is true, less than or equal 5, we're going to do what? We're going to print what? We're going to print the value of x. In this case, we're going to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, we said we are going to start from 1, 2, 3, 4 until 5. Who says this? Nothing here indicates that we are going to start with x. So this is why we need to write x equals 1. And this statement, I'm going to write a comment for you to remember it. This is the initial, sorry again for the spelling mistake, initial value, or you can say it initial loop value. Okay, there's no harm of using the same value that you use in the condition and the instructions. It's okay. You can use different value, you can use the same value, it's okay, but there's no need to increase the statements if you don't need to do that. Okay, so this is the initial statement, or this is the initial loop value. This is the first condition. This is the first thing we said we must include here, initial value. Okay, and then we're gonna write the condition. So the loop condition, you can name it if you want stop condition, because this condition is gonna stop the loop. when it evaluates to false. If it evaluates to true, it's going to continue. Okay, now inside the loop we need to do what? We need to change the value of x. Okay, because x less than or equal 5 by default is going to be true, which means 1 less than or equal 5. If you don't change the x, it's going to evaluate to infinite loop. Let's try it. Let me run it. Run, and let us see. Okay, we still have an issue. No, we don't have an issue with the Python. As you can see here, we are running one forever. Okay, killed, since it's an online interpreter, it's going to kill the application after some time. But you can see here, we printed many ones, because usually in Python interpreter, this is offline Python interpreter like the IDLE, it's not going to stop, it's going to last forever. Okay, so why? Because we missed here the change statement. Of course, you can write the change statement before the print, after the print. It depends on the program scenario or the problem you are solving. So I'm going to say x equals x plus 1. Okay, and I'm going to name this change loop value. This statement is going to change the loop value. Of course, you have to change it in a way that makes the condition evaluate to false. I mentioned this many times. I hope you remember this. If you change it in a way that is not going to evaluate to false, there is no use of it. So, for example, if you make it -1, it's going to stay, or it's going to still less than or equal 5, as we are going to see here. I'm going to run again. This is going to be, you see, it's going to continue. You see how many times? And basically it's going to kill after some time, or you can kill it yourself by stopping the execution. Okay, so it's going to be an infinite loop, but now we're going to make it correct. You see, it's going to start with 1. Since it's less than or equal 5, it's going to print and then increase the 1, and then we continue until we get x greater than 5. Then we exit. Play. You see, 1 2 3 5, and the loop stopped. Okay, that's it. This is what basically a while statement is. Remember these 3 conditions. Initial, or these 3 statements you have to include with any loop code that you're going to use. You have an initial loop value, you have a stop condition, loop stop condition, or you can remove the loop if you want. Okay, but let's keep it so we know that this condition is related to the loop, and then a change statement to change the value inside to stop the loop. As I said, there's no harm to use the same variable, but you don't need to do this. I can just print Python 5 times if I want. Okay, I'm gonna print. Let me reset this. I'm gonna print that. You see, 1 2 3 4 5 times. If you want to print it on the same line, what you're gonna do, I hope you remember module 2, we are gonna add the keyword argument, which is end equals space. Okay, and we are gonna run. I'm not gonna delete this so you see the difference. Run, you see Python, and there is a space after that as well. Okay, or you can put, if you want, an underscore between them or a comma between them, as you want, as you like. Okay, so this is how loop works. Again, loop is not hard, it's very simple. The concept is very simple, but you need to remember the 3 values, the 3 statements you need to include: initial, stop condition, change loop, change value that leads the loop to evaluate to false, and then you can put here any number of instructions. As again, the print could be before or after the change value, or the statements in general could be before or after, it depends on your scenario. Okay, this is basically all about loop statements. Oh, sorry, I remembered one thing before I end the tutorial. Just like with if, you can write here one condition, or you can write compound or complex conditions, which means you can add and or another condition. Okay, so you can say if x is less than 5 and x is something else, you need to do the following. In separate videos we are going to give you several examples about while statement. Until we meet you or we see you again, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the video and we see you in next tutorial.